Imagine this: the greatest guitarist of all time, lying helpless in a London hotel room, unable to breathe, red wine and sleeping pills coursing through his body. Was it an accident? Was it neglect? Or was Jimi Hendrix murdered? Jimi himself once said, "I'm not sure I'll live to be 28." Chilling words from a man who would never see that birthday. To this day, more than 50 years later, tonight, we dive deep into the story of Jimi Hendrix's tragic final days. From his rise to superstardom, to the crushing pressures that broke him down, to the chaotic night that ended it all, and the conspiracy theories that refused to die. But before we get there, let me ask you this: what really destroys legends? Fame, fortune, or the people closest to them? The rise of a legend. Jimi Hendrix wasn't born into fame. In fact, his early life in Seattle was marked by instability, poverty, and hardship. His father, Al Hendrix, was a strict man, and his mother, Lucille, battled health issues and eventually died when Jimi was just 15. From the start, Jimi clung to the guitar as an escape. By the early 1960s, Hendrix was hustling on the East Coast music scene, playing backup guitar for the likes of Little Richard, Ike and Tina Turner, and the Isley Brothers. But despite his raw talent, he was just another sideman. Broke, often sleeping wherever he could. That all changed in 1966, when Chas Chandler, bassist of the British band The Animals, spotted Jimi performing in a small New York club. Chandler was blown away and convinced Hendrix to move to London. And in London, everything exploded. Forming the Jimi Hendrix Experience with Noel Redding and Mitch Mitchell, Hendrix quickly became the most electrifying performer the world had ever seen. He lit his guitar on fire at the Monterey Pop Festival, redefined the national anthem at Woodstock, and running on fumes. The pressure cooker. On stage, Hendrix looked like the embodiment of cool. The headbands, the psychedelic outfits, the effortless solos that bent the universe. But offstage, the reality was very different. He was exhausted. Years of non-stop touring, endless recording sessions, and relentless pressure from his record label and management left him physically and mentally drained. And sleeping pills to come down. Financially, Hendrix was trapped too. Despite being one of the biggest stars in the world, his money was entangled in shady contracts, lawsuits, and disputes with his manager, Michael Jeffrey. Socially, things weren't much better. His relationships were chaotic, his friendships unstable, and he often felt surrounded by people who wanted something from him: money, fame, or influence. In an interview in 1970, Hendrix eerily predicted his own fate, saying, "I'm not sure I will live to be 28 years old." Those words would haunt everyone who heard them. Monika Dannemann, the last companion. Enter Monika Dannemann, a German figure skater who idolized Hendrix. She first met him after a concert in Dusseldorf in 1969, and the two developed a relationship. But here's where the story gets murky. Dannemann would later claim that she and Hendrix were deeply in love, engaged, and had been together for 18 months. But many in Hendrix's circle painted a very different picture, saying their relationship was casual at best, and that Hendrix was seeing multiple women in the final months of his life. Still, on his final night, Jimi was with Monika. They were staying at the Samarkand Hotel in Notting Hill, London. Hendrix couldn't sleep, and in desperation, he swallowed 9 Vesparax, 18 times the recommended amount. What happened next remains one of rock's greatest mysteries. The final hours. According to Dannemann, Hendrix was restless that night, unable to find peace. She later claimed that she left the room in the morning to buy cigarettes, and when she returned, Hendrix was unconscious. But her story didn't stay consistent. In some versions, she said he insisted he was still alive, breathing faintly. Sometimes, she said, she called an ambulance right away. Other times, she admitted waiting hours before making the call. Why the delay? Some speculate she was trying to hide evidence, clearing away drugs before the authorities arrived. When paramedics finally reached the scene, Hendrix was unresponsive, covered in vomit, with red wine in his lungs. Doctors tried to resuscitate him, but it was too late. On September 18, 1970, Jimi Hendrix, he was just 27 years old. The aftermath and suspicion. The world was in shock. Hendrix had been the symbol of the 1960s counterculture, a man who pushed music into the future. Suddenly, he was gone, just like Brian Jones, Janis Joplin, and later, Jim Morrison. The infamous 27 Club had claimed another victim. But almost immediately, questions arose. Why was Monika Dannemann's story so inconsistent? Did she really delay calling the ambulance? And what about Hendrix's manager, Michael Jeffrey, who stood to lose millions if Hendrix broke free from his contracts? The most chilling theory came years later. In 2009, former Hendrix roadie James "Tappy" Wright published a book claiming that Michael Jeffrey confessed to killing him. Jeffrey told him, "We went round to his hotel room, got a handful of pills and stuffed them into his mouth, then poured a few bottles of red wine deep into his windpipe." The motive? Money. Hendrix was planning to leave Jeffrey's. Jeffrey could keep control over Hendrix's estate. Is this true? We may never know. Other theories suggest the mafia was involved. After all, Hendrix had allegedly been kidnapped by mobsters the year before during a drug dispute. Still others whisper about FBI involvement, believing Hendrix's influence on the counterculture made him a target. None of these theories have ever been proven. But the fact that Dannemann's testimony changed so many times, and that others close to Hendrix also gave conflicting accounts, ensures that suspicion will always linger. In the days that followed came more than a tragedy. It became mythology. Fans couldn't accept that their hero had died so suddenly, so mysteriously. Monika Dannemann herself lived under a cloud of suspicion in 1996. She continued to insist she was Hendrix's great love, but few believed her. Meanwhile, Hendrix's music lived on. Posthumous albums, live recordings, and endless reissues kept his legend alive. To this day, he is celebrated as the greatest guitarist who ever lived. A man who changed rock and roll forever in just 4 short years. But behind the music, behind the myth, lies a darker truth. Jimi Hendrix was a man crushed by pressure, exploited by those around him, and ultimately left helpless in his final hours. So, was it the grueling demands of fame, the betrayal of those closest to him? Or was it something darker, a deliberate act to silence a man who had become too powerful, too influential, and too uncontrollable? We may never know, but one thing is certain: Jimi's loss for music. It was a tragedy for humanity. A voice silenced too soon, a genius gone at 27. And maybe the most haunting part of all is that Jimi seemed to see it coming. I'm not sure I will live to be 28 years old. He was right. What do you think really happened to Jimi Hendrix? Thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of rock's greatest mysteries, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Decade Legends, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss more stories from music history. Because sometimes, legends don't just die, they're taken.